Professor Godfred Bobkin as well was or is part of the coalition against illegal mining, talked about this consistently over time. Even though, Prof, this call for a state of emergency found favor amongst the NDC while in opposition. But the president says that it is not a, at the moment, he's actually reluctant to declaring the state of emergency because he's looked at the powers available now. The result of a state of emergency can be achieved through other means in terms of the fight against galamsey. Does that satisfy the concerns that you had? And will that be an effective approach to achieve the same results if a state of emergency was declared in this galamsey fight?
Alfred, to be very honest with you, when it comes to fighting illegal mining, call it galamsey, we are not attaching the urgency that is needed in addressing this particular issue. The president, and you see, consistency, policy credibility, and all of that matters a lot. The president was with us when he was in opposition. We were all at the same level in terms of the diagnosis of the issues and the approach. And I believe that in all those discussions, we had considered all these options. That the president now says that the powers have not been exhausted and all of that, and therefore this should be a last resort. We are not disputing that. I believe that, and we are of the view that we are actually at the point where we need to trigger the last resort. Which is the state of emergency? Yeah, because you know why? When we say last resort, it's not like saying that it should not be used at all. We have been at this not in a year, 2 or so, and all of that. And if you check the evidence, recently we read that the water some branch in the central region has been shut down. Yes, in fact, look, that's the Kwenyako headworks. If you look at the information NAPO put out, I think about 2 weeks or so, the number of people who have died in galamsey pit in the central region and the rest of them. Look, we are not, I'm getting a bit emotional about this because I don't know how to put it without coming across as being disrespectful. We were not brought up that way. But our leaders are pushing us to the point where we are unable to find words to express how we feel. We are not only talking about what we have seen and all of that, we are talking about things that we have also seen about the future of this country, and we should be concerned. Look, I'll talk about some study we participated in recently. There is this narrative, and it's a deception, that because of unemployment, sustaining livelihoods, that is why income level, that's why people are into this galamsey. A lot of the people you see there, they are using them as face shield. This illegal mining has not really benefited the low-end people in those communities. In the first place, look, if you check the data, since we saw this escalation in illegal mining, between 2012 and to date, poverty reduction really has worsened. Check the data. So if we are saying that so many Ghanaians who are in these galamsey is because of lack of employment, alternatives, and the rest of them, it's not impacting their lives. Those vulnerable poor Ghanaians are not the ones importing these excavators and the rest of them. Okay, this is a clear case of hijack. Some few people, greedy people who don't have this nation at their heart, politically connected, and all of that. If we are not careful, we will die in this. When some few people have benefited from this. Look, look at this. If you look at the numbers, between 2012, in fact, poverty reduction actually stopped somewhere 2012. If you look at it in terms of international poverty, it has worsened. In fact, we visited some of the mining communities just to also, you know, there are some things you use to check whether there's transformation in people's lives and all of that. They have nothing to show for. People are wasting their lives. People are dying in those pits. People are taking too much risk. But if you look at the value chain, just a few people, I hope you understand that, mostly in the urban areas who are profiting from this. Yes, profiting from this. And is the reason, and they have, and you see the link with the political financing regime schemes and all of that, which more or less makes it difficult for people in power to take the right decision. I have heard, and I suspect, I could be wrong, Ghanaians should forgive me, there is this understanding somewhere within, I'm sure even within government, that if we declare state of emergency, if we aggressively fight this, it will cause structural break in gold production, and therefore the CD will depreciate, and then all of that. That's a lie. The president, during the encounter with the media, told us that we have not borrowed from the international capital market, but we have some level of stability with the currency. Who told us that without gold, we cannot have a currency? Who told us that? And who says that we cannot do responsible mining? We are not calling for a total ban, I hope you understand that, and all of that. We are calling for responsible mining. We should bear in mind, whatever legacy the president wants to leave, he should remember that his legacy will not be determined just within the 4 years. In the next 10, 15 years, everything will look infinitesimal in the face of devastation that the environment is going to cause to all of us. We don't need a prophet to tell us we are heading dangerously. The data is very clear. We face existential threat. And you see, I don't know how to put it, but for me, I think the president, I have a lot of respect for this government, for the president, but I am very sorry, Mr. President, you are failing on this one. As a leader,
on the fight against galamsey?
He is failing. The president can do something about this. There's a lot that the president can do. As a leader, you don't pick and choose where you want to succeed.
Well, but you heard him why he said he's reluctant.
I disagree.
In declaring the state of emergency.
I disagree. I have the right to disagree. And I think that we are not attaching the level of urgency in fighting this simply because of personal interest, political interest, self-interest. This is greed. This is evil that will consume others and itself. How should we put this without coming across as being disrespectful? I am afraid the president is going the same way that the former president went and lost our respect.
You mean Akufo Addo?
Yes.
But he says that
this is the optimal time for the president to take those decisive actions, because when the election is getting closer, the dynamics are different. You see how difficult it was last year with all the pressure and all of that. Do you know something? I'm saying this, I'm calling on TUC, I'm calling on all religious bodies, every serious-minded Ghanaian who cares about this country, okay, to rise up. When I say rise up, I don't know how to, I'm not looking at it in a certain
revolutionary manner.
Whatever, but please, this is the time to speak up. This is the time to save Ghana. If we want to, look, there's a proverb in the Bible. The Bible says that the fathers have eaten the sour grapes and the children's teeth have been set on edge. When God said that this proverb will not be repeated in Israel, we are fast repeating this proverb here. Anyone buying gold from Ghana, you are buying blood. This is blood gold. You are buying organs of innocent people. People are born without part of their organs. How many people should die? Where should we get to before we say that we should trigger the last resort? I'm afraid, I'm disappointed. Mr. President, I believe that you have a good heart. If you want to leave a legacy, your legacy should last in the next 10, 50, 60 years. That is why we still mention Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I didn't live during his days. But when I read the literature and I see the infrastructure he did, I'm not sure some of the decisions he took in those days were popular among his colleagues. But he did so because he had the next generation in mind. This is, Mr. President, you are failing. Mr. President, please sit up. We don't want to lose our respect for you. We were not brought up to be disrespectful to elderly people. Let's not tempt ourselves to the point where we can't hold back or we can't engage in meaningful conversations devoid of emotions. I don't know how to put this. I'm scared for Ghana. If anything will cause me to leave this country, it will be irresponsible mining.
Galamsey. Well, Matibabu, you see, the president, in taking that position that he is reluctant to implement a state of emergency in Galamsey now, predicated his position on the fact that, one, we've not exhausted the powers we have without a state of emergency, and then also that implementing a state of emergency might sound nice, but it should be the last resort. So for now, he's exercising all the powers that he has, and if it becomes necessary for a state of emergency, then we'll look at it. Also, Professor Bob King says this is the time. It has become necessary. That last resort has to be resorted to right now. Is that the same path that you are on? Are we at that point?
Okay, good. So, it matters like this. Let's go with as we are all advocating, the scientific approach. Coming in here, I came with data that we had 9 forests under siege. Mm-hmm. We took them back, and then 2 fell back to the galamseyers.
Yes.
And that, as of the time the president was giving his, as of the time the president was in the encounter, mm-hmm. efforts were being made to take back those 2, right? So I'm looking at the data. So that is what I have. If there is anything else, we can add. So when I look at it from that perspective, then it appears to me, and also with the comments that Erastus Asare Donko, who is, admittedly a key watcher of the space, he came out with his verdict that the fight now is far better than the fight under Akufo Addo's government. So for me, I kind of see it as, okay, work in progress. And so that's where Professor Bobkin's exhortation comes in, that the president should up the game. Yes, what Professor Bobkin has done, of course, we all know somebody has to cry out loud, even when the president is working hard. That's human nature. You would hardly get 100% everybody applauding the president. No. In the nature of, you remember earlier on, Eduji referred to the gadfly. So you go into philosophy, in every society, you always have a gadfly, right? That's a person who would say it raw as it is. Yes. So Professor Bobkin is doing it in that manner to urge President Mahama to up the game. So it's fine, it's within. It's okay. But going by the data that I'm using, that 9 forests gone, but retrieved, and then 2 fell and are being taken over. Did I even hear after the speech that about a day or so after that, yes, the military had ended up, or whoever.
I don't have that update, but I will check.
Okay, so viewers can bring us information. So if you look at it from that perspective, and also coupled with the fact that right now efforts are being made to repeal the law, the LI 2462, and also the fact that our beloved Etiwa Forest, for now, even though we haven't finished our court case, I see Awula Sewa here. She's one of the plaintiffs in the case, Arocha, and some CSOs, including Awula Sewa. Yes, though we've not finished. You see that our society collectively, we've decided that no, there will be no mine in Etiwa, right? So when I add all of this, then I'm like, okay, so the fight is on. This looks better. This definitely looks better. I'm not saying everything is rosy. No, it's not hunky-dory. Not hunky-dory at all. But definitely from the verdict that has been given, the fight is getting better. And so that's how Professor Bobkin's strong statement comes in. That, look, in our society, you'll never get 100%, okay? So get on with it. Maybe for the first time you want to try. So then get on with it. So by all means, let's keep speaking, but it appears on the ground that, at least from what I have seen, the fight is better.
So the reference is made to the stance that the NDC took while in opposition about this state of emergency. Because at the time, that call was relevant, it was urgent.
Yeah.
A year ago.
Good.
A year on, why the reluctance?
Oh, good question. So, now, Mr. Okanse, you can check online. Check to see if at any point in time, I ever supported the call for a state of emergency. You won't find me.
I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, so I'm developing the point. Yeah. So the point was that even last year, when the statement the president made is a master stroke that we've not exhausted the use of the laws that we have. And so, number one, he himself admits that he stopped the IG's task force on galamsey because he thought there were abuses here and there.
Yes.
What maybe we can send to the president as a follow-up is that, so when is IG Owusu's task force going back? That's the most critical thing. When is the task force, together with the NIMOs, National is it Action? Okay, sorry. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Secretariat. So he says, no, he says there were abuses. So that day when I followed the conversation, I was interested in, okay, so when are they returning? Because he said they couldn't distinguish illegals from legals.
Yes.
So then that would have required a recce, where an advanced team will go and be taught, or that's shown which are the legal concessions and which are the illegals. Study them well on maps, etc. before IG's team goes back. So, I mean, that point, and that's what I stand to be corrected. I can't.
Gold Board, Bank of Ghana, they should give us the list of mining companies they've been buying gold from and where they are located.
No problem. Let's come to this. So when you go to article, so that I'll come back on, okay, let's address that. So you see, the president himself said it at a point that, look, whether they bought for legals or illegals, generally now is benefiting us. You heard Edwiji's point. No, I'm coming. Let's the statement. Listen, what it means is that, look, the illegals were going out, right, through some other channels. You see, sometimes it's difficult. Yeah, I know it. I think we should say it so that we will see what is wrong and then we can correct it. What he's saying is a fact on the ground, that even if the purchase illegal.
That is even if.
That's it. It's a conditional clause. Previously, these were going to some private people who were taking this money out, and the dollars not coming in. But right now, through Gold Board, what they've pitched is 4 billion. It said, I mean, it's never happened. 4 billion, even in less than or about 6 months. It's never happened. So sometimes the practical aspect of it, that I think that, like he's saying, facing realities. That's the thing. Sometimes in politics, when you speak the truth, you will be crucified. That's how come you see sometimes politicians are forced to lie to us here and there, because the truth can be quite difficult. That's not the main point. We're just talking about the main point is that you're asking me, the president says we've not exhausted the remedies or the facilities and
powers, yes.
powers available to us under normal law. And so why do we rush to a state of emergency? And I say, yes, I agree. Because look, when you read Article 31 here, look, the part, let's go, when you, just to summarize all the procedure, when I talk about Article 31 of the Constitution, that's the article on the state of emergency. It's the 3110, which says that during any period when a state of emergency is enforced, so a government can take any measures that are reasonably justifiable for the purposes of dealing with the situation that exists. So that's a nebulous statement. So you ask ourselves, as I said, this is where I'm being humble, I want to learn. What we have now, IG's men who were withdrawn and whom we are asking the president to send back after the NIMOs, that's the National Anti-Illegal Mining Secretariat, showing them the right places. Okay. Apart from these things, if we declare the state of emergency today, what else would we be doing? Are you going to declare a state of emergency on paper? Of course, as I said, we are leaving out the issue of Council of State, Parliament, and the rest. But I mean, if everything is done and the state of emergency is on paper, what else? So practically, you need the police to go and enforce. So how is that different from saying, okay, look, the police have been educated about the concessions, so let them go now. Okay. What is different? So, state of emergency is not a magic wand by itself. It's a declaration. When you are done, you still need this police to go and enforce the law. So currently under the law, we can send police there, IG's men, and the 9 months people can go and do the work. So as I say, I'm being humble. Maybe other lawyers.
So you say, what will it add to the fight as it's going on currently? You know, there was this analogy. I think Professor Gyamfi also made that if you enter a room and the room is flooded with water, and the tap that has been opened, that is causing the room to be flooded, is still open, but yet you bring more men to continue fetching the water out, but not going to the source to close the tap and stop the main source of the flow so that you would finish taking the water out. As against you allowing the water to continue flowing while you are also trying to fetch the water. That's a fruitless exercise.
Yes, perfect.
So that comes to the point that you make. So that if there is a state of emergency, because he made that analysis predicated on his point that there should be a consideration of the state of emergency. That if there's a state of emergency, you now halt the operation of the illegal miners. Then you have the police go in, as you indicated, to enforce that. As against what the police task force is doing now, when they go in and they stop it at one point, when they move to the other, the galamseyers go back and start again. So how do we stop this?
Perfect. So that's the question I was asking. So how is that different? See, the analogy that was given is brilliant. By in law, ADG will tell you, we have a famous statement for that. Analogies can blur the argument. Analogies can blur the argument. Yes, he means stop the bleeding. How do we stop it? So what I mean is that currently, what stops us from sending back IGO news people to the galamsey side? What stops us? So that is where I said that's what we should be asking Mr. President. That when are they returning with the requisite knowledge this time to be able to help them distinguish illegals from legals? So like I said, the state of emergency is not a magic wand. It's a declaration, it's a paper, right? I declare state of emergency, blah, blah, over this and this period. I don't want us to bog down with the procedure. We want to go to the substance. Somebody should tell me, when you finish declaring it on paper, isn't that the same police who will go there to police the site and stop them? So, and currently, the law allows the police to go. So what do we do? So you see, the truth of the matter is that's why I said I've never stated anywhere that I support state of emergency. At that time, you see, truth be told, it was politically sexy. So sometimes, once the majority of the citizens had bought in, but it doesn't appear to me that people understood what it was, different from what a government could do. Because the key thing is, when you declare it now, this thing that take measures justifiable to stop the problem. Currently, what stops us from taking measures, like sending the police back, he said, and the president made a point, good. So a few weeks ago, I'd said that we should station the police in the forest. Ken Ofori, my good friend, was here. I said, no, it's impossible. Did you hear the president say that they will establish permanent presence there? So that is it. So the key thing is, let's ask Mr. President, when are all the forests, when map out the days and dates, the police will take over this forest. And no military, please. The police can do this job, no military. And our constitution, this is work for the police, not military.
Okay. But Mr. Jackson, I know I've kept you here beyond your time, so I'll just give you some few minutes on this. Well, Awula Sewa and Adam Senanu are going to be joining us in the next few minutes in studio. But Engineer Dr. Kennedy was to join us earlier. He had a little issue, so unfortunately he couldn't. But Awula Sewa is here. And his point of disagreement of your proposal, which the president now says is going to be done, he was talking about the numbers. Because if you're stationing policemen in the forest, right?
We'll recruit more. There are millions of our citizens who are looking for jobs.
All right. So, yes.
Couldn't enter.
Oh, we will do it. We'll do it with drones, etc. The president showed that they will be
talking about artificial drones.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Drones. They will do it.
Just have your take on this. Quick one.
For me, galamsey gets me as emotional as Professor Bobkin.
Maybe a little below mine.
I don't think so. If you recall, when the young men and ladies of this country had their demonstration, I was right in the forefront with them.
Yeah.
I was right in the forefront, in the front of the demonstration with them.
Yeah.
But you see, the challenge I think we have here is this. When the ordinary citizen had a state of emergency, they were not thinking about the legal bits of a state of emergency. What came to mind was a sense of urgency. And you see, what the problem now is that we're not transmitting the same sense of urgency that the phrase state of emergency exhibited. For me, I think most Ghanaians don't really care if the legal process to create a state of emergency is created, so long as a state of urgency is perceived. The second thing is that I'd like to paint for you a little scenario. Today, as we sit, Ghana Water is asking for a 280% increase in tariff.
Yeah.
Because of galamsey. That is the statement they put out.
Well, there are other factors, but the most important.
The key thing is galamsey.
Because
we've had issues where the infrastructure in certain towns and cities have broken down. I live in Tema. Tema used to be the best place for utilities. Now, if you get 3 days water in a week in Tema, you are looking good. And this is in the rainy season. I dare to think of what will happen in the dry season. And you find similar experiences all over. That's for water. You see, one of the reasons why some of us get emotions are all these gains that we seem to have made in these 9 months can be frittered away because of galamsey. Why? If the rest of the world decides that we are selling gold that is not sustainable, we could be blacklisted. And all the
already there's something going on. A lot of the international community, we are not buying our gold. Almost 80% or so our gold is going to United Arab Emirates.
Thank you. Listen, gold board, which is supposed to be the game changer, the gold board effect could disappear simply because we have not tackled galamsey, and we are now blacklisted as selling unsustainable gold. Prof used a phrase, blood gold. We could easily be labeled blood gold. The same way.
It will not be only gold. Very
coming.
soon, certain food items we may not be able to export.
Cocoa, you will not be able to export cocoa. If you can't export, because you see, the heavy metals are leaching into the water bodies.
Ghana Water Company doesn't correct that.
It can't correct that. Two, there are places in this country where when they are mixing fertilizer, they use sachet water because the water from the rivers will make the fertilizer bubble. The challenge is that the sense of urgency doesn't seem to come out. And what some of us feel is that the kingpins behind galamsey are quietly and insidiously infiltrating into the leadership of the NDC and are subverting the vim with which they talked about when they were in opposition. And that is what is scary.
Well, and you see, this matter, the politics of it brings a certain context, but the focus today is not on the politics of things. It's on the reality that we're faced with, that as we speak, and we're going to put it on the screen because right now we've got information that the Kwenyako headworks has been shut down by the Ghana Water Company Limited because of illegal mining. And Mr. Jackson, thank you so much for coming. I do appreciate this. We'll put that video on the screen right now. Owusu is going to be joining us together with Adam Senano. What you're seeing there is the Kwenyako headworks. This Ayensu River that flows into Kwenyako has been polluted by activities of galamsey operators. And just a little over a week ago, when the managing director of the Ghana Water Company Limited visited Kwenyako, he had indicated, that's Adam Otawakilo, indicated that if things don't change in the coming weeks, they will have to shut down the Kwenyako headworks. That has been done. Just 3 days ago, we received that information because they are now, instead of getting water, they are having to treat mud going through their treatment plant. Before this challenge, the headwork produced and supplied over 25,000 cubic meters of water per day. Production has been halted currently. Divers who were hired to assess the situation of the pumps underwater have recommended that the pumps be desilted. Their assessment also recommends dredging of the river. That is what's happening in this Kwenyako headworks. And that's the water they've been treating. That's how it looks at the moment. This certainly is not looking good. It's one that urgent action needs to be taken. And as we speak, Kwesi Chikrom residents are also having to share a stream of water with animals. This is in the Aguna East district of the Central Region as well. So, what is being done now to address this danger that we're faced with? Galamsey. Awola Sewa is co-founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens, one of the foremost human rights, environmental NGOs in this country, leading this advocacy on the fight against Galamsey. Awola, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, and good morning to you and your listeners.
Perfect. Also have Adam Senano, who's the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, and Mesano has another portfolio.
And he's my boss also.
He's your boss as well. At the African Union. Yeah, so that's the
chairperson.
The chairperson
of the
Advisory Board Against Corruption. At the African Union. He's a big man.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And we better take his advice seriously.
This is the first time you've been on the show after this elevation.
Yeah.
So congratulations is in order.
Thank you.
And good work. A good exports to the continent. Sorry, please.
Yes. I was just wondering whether Sinano had G-Rags. But that said, you know, when Prof was talking, I listened to him. And because he's a professor, I was minded to interject. And when he said the president had failed in this fight against Galamsey, because he's a professor, I wanted to find out from him what were the marking scheme. Because at the point I was wondering whether he was using the UCC marking scheme or grading system or the University of Ghana.
Pass mark is 100%.
Clearly, from what I've seen, the pass mark is 100%. Because if not, a fair, candid, objective analysis of the interventions that have been put in place, the conclusion cannot be that the president has failed. I have always maintained that the issue of Galamsey is like what used to happen in the 80s with drug trade. It has always been work in progress. Look, what attracted the Europeans maybe to Ghana, then Gold Coast, was gold. Our people have always mined gold one way or the other. It became a problem. Yes. I'm coming. It became a problem when we now introduce excavators and the concept of champagne, particularly in our water bodies. That, for me, was the beginning of the hell that we are facing today. As for the negative impact of Galamsey, I've sat on this platform and raised those issues. I recall a documentary by one of your sister stations where they even showed women giving birth and the impact on the fetus to the point that they could not even develop genitalia and many others. So the impact, the hazard of galamsey threatens our very existence, no doubt. But what I want us to do, an objective critique, maybe devoid of the emotions, is to look at the intervention. I don't have a problem if we critique the interventions and say, look, this one can be better. This one, we can do it this way. I think when we come to that consciousness, it will help the conversation. First of all, President John Dramani Mahama, then candidate Mahama, never on any platform promised to declare a state of emergency. I have challenged everybody that produced for me just a video recording of President Mahama making that declaration that I will, or a proclamation that I will, with the benefit of power, declare a state of emergency. I remember vividly, a group had put together a coalition at the tail end and invited the main flag bearers to that program. When President Mahama attended that program, he was extremely cautious on the question of state of emergency. Because we all do appreciate that the moment you declare a state of emergency, you change the dynamics of that locality. It is not going to be business as usual. Internationally, reputations associated with a state of emergency or martial law is evident. I give you two examples. Philippines. When President Duterte became president in Philippines, first he said you are declaring a state of emergency to fight Islamic terrorists or insurgents in one of the provinces in Philippines. Then he now moved it into the drug trade. Today, as I speak to you, just a match, Duterte was arrested and now facing criminal, international criminal whatever, at The Hague because of how Duterte was in the palace and soldiers were killing people in the name of drug trade. It is something that you need to approach with a lot of caution. You see, in this country, when excesses happen, nobody looks for who did it. They look for the president under whose watch it happened. I remember vividly there was a day in the name of fighting armed robbery or something. 8 young men, either in Taifa or so, were brutally murdered under the mistaken view that they were what? Armed robbers. So I'm just coming. No, I'm just coming. Prof, I beg you. Okay. I beg you. Sorry. With respect. The point I am making is that there's demonstrable evidence that whenever there is a state of emergency declared, the evidence globally has always shown excesses, be it in South Korea. When President Park declared the martial law in South Korea, the end result was international reputational damage. Because soldiers will go and do things, and then there will be a problem. And you see, I've always maintained, especially with the deployment of soldiers, there is a scar in the mind and heart of soldiers today. And you know that scar?
What's the scar you're talking about?
The brutal murder of, is it Captain or Major Mahama?
Major Maxwell.
He's now Major Maxwell Mahama.
Promoted posthumously.
And from that time, soldiers have always been on the watch out to deal with people relative to these galamsey matters. Now you deploy soldiers under a state of emergency. My fear is what the fallout will be. And if you listen to President Mahama carefully, he never said, I have ruled out the issue of the state of emergency. So with respect, the critics, the people...
He only said he's reluctant to do so.
So the people... hold on, I beg you. The people who have taken issues with President Mahama on this matter, the man never said, I won't declare. He said that will be the last resort. He made that point. He said the interventions that we have deployed so far, are there more room for improvement? No doubt, yes. If we scale up all the interventions that we have, can we restore the health of our water bodies? Yes. Can that be done? Yes. So as president, and all of us here, without sounding arrogant, all of us here, which one of us has security briefing within a week? Which one of us? I'm not sure. I think he's the only one that is privileged as president, commander-in-chief, to have security briefings. At least, maybe in a month or a week or whatever, I don't know how the arrangement is. And so if the man, where he sits, says that, with all the briefings I have and the powers I have, I strongly believe that if I beef up all these interventions, I will still achieve that result without a formal declaration of a state of emergency. I think we just have to give him the benefit of the doubt. This is the president, respectfully, who had just taken over barely 8 months ago. The systemic pollution of our water bodies over the period. Was it the expectation that, with respect, the raising of a magic wand, our water bodies will be restored in 8 months? Was that the expectation? Then I really want to say that, yes, then Ghanaians really, truly and truly had a huge expectation of President Mahama. And that for me is encouraging. It's commendable. I mean, learning the extent to which the good people of this country had expectation of President Mahama, that in 8 months, he will solve a problem that had been created, a systemic problem over 8 years and more in 8 months, clearly probably showed the test, the challenge people had with leadership over the past 8 years. But I can assure you on this platform that President John Dramani Mahama is not reneging. He believes that he has a legacy mandate, a mandate to show. I mean, the reset agenda includes resetting our environment.
Not to cut you, add this. People are saying that, you see, Sam George said it can be done in 1 day. That's
a state of emergency is different. I do not even know the context within which my brother Sam George spoke. Yeah. I would not want to hold him to straight proof on these matters. But I am saying, on this table, in 8 months, this is a president who in 8 months have gotten the task force that he's put together, move over 440 excavators, over 900 pumping machines, over 300 and over plus and fine. Look at the interventions. Look, when President Mahama became president, on the 7th day of January 2025, nine of our forest reserves were completely captured. Is that not a fact? As we speak, has there not been recoveries?
2 have been retaken.
Please, with respect, I am saying that 9 were lost. All of them taken, 2, you say like 2 were retaken. As I speak, Jimara or something has been repossessed. Are we saying this is not effort? This is not commendable?
It is.
Which school, when you have all these intervention and performances, will score you F? That lecturer will definitely be a very wicked one and will not be objective. So the point I am making is that on this platform, there is demonstrable work done under President Mahama's leadership. I strongly believe that more is required. I agree. To whom much is given, much is expected. A president who comes with over 57% victory at the poll, much would definitely be expected. And President Mahama is not oblivious of that. He has never taken this mandate for granted. He has always said, with great pride, that, look, what Ghanaians did for him on December 7, 2024, is a record one. And he's eternally grateful for that kind of mandate from the good people of this country. But I can assure all of us seated on this platform that President Mahama is not going to renege on this. He will fight it to the very last end. But what he's mindful of the associated risk with a declaration of a state of emergency. Because globally, there's evidence that anytime a state of emergency is declared, the unintended consequences has always been problematic.
Okay.
And often controlling the narrative becomes a huge problem. And that is why, look, what do we call it? 9 months. Is that the name?
Yes, 9 months.
Have they stopped work? No. As I speak to you, they are on the Ankobra River. They are on the Bonsu River. Have they stopped work? No. We have had an intervention because you see, the concern, sitting here, just last week, Saturday, around this time, I used Cape Coast to Kumasi Road. And the pra, you could see the water there. Obviously, who is happy with such sights?
So the pra looks polluted.
Yes, extremely dehumanizing. Me, where I grew up in Nkwanta, our water, the water we drink, we go to the riverside to fetch water, to cook and do everything. I see these ones and it scares me. My people in Trefopraso, Bimpo Eja, is the pra that they have survived on
And
many years.
You know, at some point we thought the Volta River was spared.
Today they cannot. Today, when you go to Bole, the water there, what they are doing. Recently, the Oti River around Dambai, if you look at the water body, it is not what we have always seen it to be. So the concern is huge, but President Mahama is taking this fight to a different level. Do you know the internal revolt?
The internal revolt
Yes.
of him, the president.
The fight.
The internal revolt within government.
Yes. No, not government.
Within the
Even
NDC.
party. Do you know why? Because party members in the various constituencies saw what their colleague MPP people were doing in the 8 years. The wealth they made out of polluting water bodies. There is always the tendency for party members to approach you, and when then the president says no. Have you ever seen, under the watch of Nana Dodanko Akufo Addo, that the Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, be it Gloria Akufu or Godfrey Adame, referred any national officer of the MPP for investigation relative to galamsey? Let's see the record. But President, under the watch of President Mahama, the Attorney General, no other person, but the national organizer of the party, the vice chair of the party, they have been referred for investigation. Commendable. So please, let's get to the point where we appreciate the collective effort of President Mahama to address this canker. I have no doubt at all in my mind that we will win this fight against galamsey. It may not, with all the social connections, be sudden, but we'll win it.
Well, Awula, this, you see, from the perspective of the president, he makes the reference, and that's what Ediju was talking about the powers that the president says has not been exhausted as yet. And that's the only reason why he says he's reluctant. I think that's the context for which he made that statement. His reluctance is that there's more that can be done with what is available now, even before we get to the last resort. Professor Bawumia is talking about the last resort being the resort for now because of the evidence. There's a point of departure that Ediju has, but I've also referenced what is happening across the country in some areas. With the NIMOS and the IGP task force on the ground, what would be the direct impact of the declaration of the state of emergency?
You see, what I would say is that if there are other measures that can be taken, what are we waiting for to take those measures? The house is burning. Are we waiting for the house to be totally burnt to ashes and then we act? You see, if you use that analogy, we'll begin to understand what is going on. What are we waiting for? We know about the premature deaths. We know about babies being born deformed. We know about the rise in kidney disease. Konfanoche Teaching Hospital has told us that cases have gone up 4 times. We are aware of that. We know that about 60, if not % of our water bodies have been poisoned. Water is life. We will not die if we don't have gold, but we will die without water. It has affected the food chain. The water we have in front of us, the fact that it's clear doesn't mean it's safe. We know that maybe the reverse osmosis process, if that has been done. So we face an existential threat. If there are any measures you can take that you haven't taken, the question is that what are we waiting for to take them? And then I was a little concerned about saying that the IGP's task force did not know the difference between illegal miners and small-scale mining.
Yes.
To the best of my knowledge, whether you have a license or not, you cannot be on our water bodies. So once you are there, you are illegal, whether or not you have a piece of paper. I have a driving license. That means I can drive on the pavement, I can drive whilst drunk. Having a license doesn't mean, and Professor Frimpong Boakye made it very clear that even when you have a license, if you go outside the parameters of your license, you are what? You're engaged in illegal mining. So I don't think that, I find it difficult to understand that if the illegal miners or what I call them environmental terrorists were found in forest reserves, whether they have a piece of paper or not, they are engaged in illegal mining because you are not a small-scale miner supposed to be in our forest reserves. So I'm finding it difficult to understand what is going on. But all I'll say is that there is urgency, and I think our brother was talking about the sense of urgency. Ghanaians voted not necessarily for the NDC. They voted against the past administration because the perception was that nothing was being done. The presidency was put on the line and nothing was being done. Things were getting from bad to worse. And therefore, Ghanaians said, we look at the images you have shown. We don't want to continue being poisoned. So please, if you are not able to do it, let's give way. And then the NDC stalwarts were lining up to say, declare a state of emergency, declare a state of emergency. Now we suddenly find out that it's not as simple as that. You also said you would repeal LI 2462. And then you came to power, gave us all sorts of excuses why it couldn't be done. And then we said we were doing it, and we found out that what was being done was what? An amendment. And Ghanaians felt that that was a little disingenuous because you promised revocation. Now we are told... Exactly. Now we are told it's going to be revoked. And I would say that when it's been laid before Parliament, when it has actually been revoked, then we know that is the case. That was a low-hanging fruit. It could have been done to make Ghanaians understand that something serious is going on. We also want EI 144, which allows for the disclassification of Achimota Forest to be repealed. Because the lungs of Accra, the last remaining lungs in Accra, is Achimota Forest. Why would you declassify parts of it? So what I would say is that Ghanaians appreciate that there's urgency. We are being poisoned. We are being poisoned. We're not waiting for every Ghanaian to be dropping dead from kidney disease before we apply other methods. So yes, if you don't want to call it state of emergency, there are things you can do. We expected that simultaneously in our water bodies. I don't know the strength of our Navy. I don't know the strength of our Army. But you are the commander-in-chief, you know the strength. We want to see urgent action being taken. Simultaneously, you're on the water bodies, you're on the forest reserves, you're on the farmland. Then Ghanaians know something is going on. So if the law as it is allows you to do so, What on earth is stopping you from doing so? That is the question that Ghanaians are asking, that there appears to be no sense of urgency. Today we've gone here, seized 2 excavators.
Yes.
Tomorrow we've gone
We are
here.
importing more excavators.
And then you see what I find very disingenuous was that we know that there's not been a great build. What are excavators used for? To excavate. How many building projects are going on that so many excavators are coming to the country? We know they're finding their way to our forest reserve. So we said ban outright the importation of excavators for a period. You said you're going to issue licenses. We all know what it is like. We cannot enforce anything. So why don't you just pause the bringing in of excavators? Just like small-scale mining. People say pause it. There are so many of them. You're unable to monitor. I'll give you the case of Atronsu. They had a beautiful environment. They have the beautiful Atronsu stream, which they were boasting was better than Voltic or any water. Then you wanted to bring in, illegal mining. But yes, President Mahama did say that small-scale community mining and illegal mining was virtually the same thing. Now it's being replaced with cooperative mining. But what it says is that we are bringing community mining. We went to court to stop it. And then later on, illegal miners came in. Their Atronsu stream was being polluted. We contacted the EPA. They asked if they had an EPA license. I don't work at the EPA, but I don't think they had one. To the best of my knowledge, the EPA never was able to go to Atronsu, to the best of my knowledge, to find out what was going on. So the place kept on being polluted until 2 excavators were burned. And then, very quickly, the police managed to arrest the activists. And they have been charged, and they've been going to court since then. And we are hoping that the Attorney General would drop the charges. They said they didn't burn the excavator. But the good news is that since the excavators got burnt, the illegal activity has stopped. So the point being made is that what is the use of excavators? Why can you not even temporarily ban the importation of excavators? There are enough in the country for those who are doing construction work to be able to use. Second of all, why can you not pause small-scale mining until we have our act together? And I'll keep on saying that one of our fundamental problems is that we are allergic to enforcement. If you look at the cooperative mining regime, and you look at the community mining, which we have said is the same as illegal mining, what is the difference? You are not able to put enforcement, robust enforcement and compliance in place. So why do you go and embark on it? It will only make matters worse. And I want to end up by saying that initially when you had galamsey, it wasn't causing this much damage. They were using hand tools. They didn't have excavators and these chanfans. Now the game has changed completely. So it's gone from galamsey to clear criminal activity, environmental terrorism. It's criminal activity, which needs to be nipped in the bud. And I would say that the window of opportunity to deal with this cancer is closing.
Does the effort reflect the sense of urgency?
We don't see that there's a sense of urgency. Even to repeal a low-hanging fruit like LI 2462, you dilly-dally, you are now going to do it. It hasn't been done 9 months into your presidency. Where is the urgency? Blue water guard, very well. Are they able to deal with armed environmental terrorists? They can't. So we don't see the sense of urgency. But we do commend the IGP's task force with the work they were doing. And if they had questions to answer, I don't think you want to throw away the baby with the bathwater.
See, what you talked about, so you referenced the number of excavators coming in and what that's going to be used for. Because we know, even the large mining companies use excavators. And if you have over 1,200 excavators are stuck at the ports, the president explained why they were being moved at the time, because they said he had to decongest the ports. Why? You have any issue with that explanation, Ola?
Well, I mean, just seeing the number of excavators coming to the country, we know that there's a problem. And I believe Joy News ran a story, and that's when we got the explanation as to why they were being moved at night. Before that, we didn't have the explanation, but now we are being told that they're being moved at night because that's when there's less congestion or whatever.
To decongest the ports, and because the time at night, there's less traffic,
But I just think it's worrying.
Big mining company, there's a scale up in their production. That's why they are now importing, and they can't clear their excavators within the normal, and it has to be piled up. Look, do you know something? I think we are intelligent enough to see through some of these things, and we are not like ungrateful people that if we see effort, genuine effort, progress, we will not appreciate and all of that, because you can look, Ghana is not the only one doing mining. You can look at the water bodies in the Ivory Coast, look at other countries. I hope you understand that, and all of that. We should be able, look, if as a country, we cannot put ourselves together and do responsible mining, we have failed.
But if we can't do it, until we can do it, we should stop it. That's why I believe Kyeremanteng had said that when he came, he would have paused it for a while until we get our act together. Because you see, any day that we're not getting our act together, people are being poisoned. You and I are being poisoned. Even those in the diaspora, when you eat Ghanaian food, do you know what's in the tubers and the yams? And very soon, our cocoa will not be, as it has already been said, accepted. So we need to take urgent steps. And I'm afraid, much as we commend some of the steps that have been taken, they are not enough, they are not robust enough to deal with the magnitude of the problem. We're not saying nothing has been done. I mean, nobody would say, of course,
say nothing has been
exactly.
done.
In fact, I've heard very good feedback about your submissions. I'm getting very good feedback, about your submission. But what people are saying is that the urgency of the problem, we need to see more robust, swift action. We don't want to wait till every Ghanaian has got kidney disease before we decide to act.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.